Dad, if you can believe it, they're going to play another baseball game tonight. Those guys have to be exhausted heading into game 5 of this series. Because you know this, as someone that did sports talk radio at the crack of dawn for so many years and would have people fill in, it was never the first day that got everybody.
Right.
It was the second day of waking up at that time that used to get people left and right. And so that reverb going into game 5, going to be big time tonight as the Jays even the series. And what's on the line going into this game? I'm glad you asked. History says 67% of the teams who win game 5 go on to win the World Series in a best of 7 when tied at 2. All right, for more on how we got to this point and what happens the rest of the series, delighted to welcome in Adrian Gonzalez, now former MLB first baseman. You can check him out doing a great job as an analyst over at Sportsnet LA. And Adrian, we appreciate the time, and we'll get into the specifics of what we saw in Game 4 as the Blue Jays go and get a massive win in this series. But it's hard to look at it without thinking of it through the lens of Game 3. How much of an effect do you think that 18-inning romp had on what we saw from both teams in Game 4?
I really think it had an effect on both teams. They were both out there. They were both, had the marathon 18 innings. But I really think having Shohei be on the bases 9 times definitely could have, taken a little bit of a toll on him as far as just sharpness and being able to execute his pitches to the best of his ability. I think that helped a little bit the Blue Jays in Game 4, and they were able to get to him for 4 runs. He still had a good game. He still went 6 innings, 4 runs. Typically, that type of line is not a line that, guarantees you a loss. So he did his thing out there. There's just, yesterday I felt like the offense wasn't able to do it. And really Shane Bieber came through for the Blue Jays and executed his pitches. And, we know that the Dodgers hitters, when the team doesn't execute, they pound them. But when the pitcher's on their game and they execute, they struggle sometimes.
It continues an incredible postseason for Vlad Jr. We know Shohei has been the story of this postseason and this World Series in so many ways. Could you make an argument that maybe south of him, Vlad Jr. is playing as well as anyone we've seen in Major League Baseball's postseason?
Oh, I mean, his postseason has been incredible. Just, he's faced some really, really tough staffs with, Seattle Mariners. Their staff, I felt, was, probably just as good or even better than the Dodgers staff all together. And so what he was able to do against that staff, in the ALCS, and what he's been able to do so far in the World Series, those kind of stats against that kind of pitching is just incredible for someone to have done that. So, he's definitely, taking his team to the highest of their abilities, and they're in this series because of that.
Who do you give the edge to in the rest of the series?
Well, you always have to give the edge to Snell and Yamamoto. I mean, when you have those two guys, you're 1-2, the two guys that, you paid the money for to be in this situation. The Blue Jays, they have a rookie in there that, he's been pitching well, but you can't say that you're comfortable or confident with him on the mound in such a critical game. So he's obviously has the tools and the ability and the poise, and he pitches like a veteran, even though he's a rookie. But you got to give the edge to the, the big duo of Snell and Yamamoto. And then if you get to Game 7, you have Glasnow with Shohei possibility to come in, or maybe you start Shohei for a few innings and then you bring in Glasnow, for the rest of the way. And then that way it shortens up the bullpen a little bit and you can go right to Sasaki. So they would have options in Game 7 if it gets there. But I feel like the Dodgers are very confident with Snell and Yamamoto in 5 and 6.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get too hyperbolic, but does this game border on a must-win for the Dodgers? Can they survive a trip back to Toronto?
Yeah, I mean, you would hope that they feel very confident and everything's lining up for them to win these next 2 games. But if they were to lose today, obviously there's still opportunities. You have Yamamoto that should push you to a Game 7. And then, when you get to Game 7, you figure out a way. The only reason I say Shohei starts is because he needs to stay in the game once he's out of the pitching side. So if he comes in relief and you take him out, he can't hit no more. So that's why you would have Shohei start at Game 7 potentially and have him go maybe 2 or 3 innings and then bring in Glasnow after that. I feel confident that if they were to lose one of these 2 games, they would still be in a position to win the World Series. obviously you don't want to you don't want to go down that road.
If you're the Dodgers with the way Vlad's hitting, do you think about that strategy going the other direction, where maybe you try and put him on base without giving him a chance to put another one in the seats in the outfield?
Well, with Snell and Yamamoto, they're able to execute enough where they can really pitch tough and try to see if Vlad will get himself out. Once you get into the bullpen and certain guys that you don't feel super comfortable with them, being able to execute a great pitch down the way that looks like a strike but ends up being a ball, and you throw him 4 of those, see if he gets himself out. Then at that point, you think about the intentional walk. But when you have pitchers that can execute a pitch, Snell can throw him 4 changeups out there, and hopefully he gets out there and rolls over one and gets himself out. Yamamoto can throw 4 great splits at him. So there's options why you would not just give him the intentional walk, but you're definitely not giving in no matter what the situation, no matter what the scenario, even if it's nobody on base, 1 out, and you still want to see if you can get him out by making great pitches.
People love great teams until they become too great. Then they want to see them knocked down. And while the Dodgers haven't won back-to-back yet, they have the best roster money can buy right now. Do you think the majority of baseball people are rooting for Toronto? Not that Toronto has a small payroll, but do you think they're rooting for Toronto more?
I think when you talk about the entire world and baseball fans altogether, yes, I think you are. The Blue Jays probably have more people behind them, but it's a double-edged sword, right? Say I don't see it happening, but say the Blue Jays win, nobody can say the argument of you can buy a championship and what are the Dodgers doing? They're ruining baseball. They can't say that because they didn't win. But if the Dodgers win, now everybody's going to say like, oh, it's because they bought the, and then you start going into the whole talk of going into a strike because you want a salary cap. So I think, for the most part, when you have ownership group that is willing to put the best team on the field, that's power to them.